Run races that have been going on since '94 actually have been wonderful for the game of baseball.
Tug McGraw was more than just a baseball player. He was a legend. His unforgettable performances made him a hero to fans and a force in the game. But his story took a heartbreaking turn when a brain tumor ended his life, stealing away a true icon. Tug McGraw was a famous American baseball relief pitcher who played for 19 seasons in Major League Baseball with the New York Mets and Philadelphia Phillies from 1965 to 1984. He earned over $2 million during his career. McGraw is best known for coining the phrase, "You gotta believe," which became the rallying cry for the 1973 New York Mets and is still a popular slogan among the team's fans. One of McGraw's most memorable moments was when he struck out Willie Wilson to end the 1980 World Series, securing the Philadelphia Phillies' first-ever championship. Sadly, McGraw was one of 6 Phillies players who died from glioblastoma, a type of brain cancer. Some believe this might be connected to toxic PFAS chemicals in the AstroTurf at Veterans Stadium, although this theory hasn't been proven. But before we move on, make sure to subscribe. On March 12, 2003, McGraw was working as an instructor for the Philadelphia Phillies during spring training when his life took a sudden and serious turn. He was hospitalized after being diagnosed with a glioblastoma, a type of brain tumor. Doctors performed surgery to remove the tumor, and initial reports were optimistic. It seemed like the surgery had gone well, with McGraw's chances of recovery looking good, and there was hope that he would live a long time. However, the surgery didn't remove the entire tumor, and sadly, it came back in an inoperable form. McGraw lived for over 9 more months after the surgery. During this difficult time, McGraw's son, Tim McGraw, was heavily involved in his care. Tim paid for expensive experimental treatments and helped make important decisions about his father's care. One of McGraw's final public appearances was on September 28, 2003, when he attended the closing ceremonies of Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. He even recreated the final out of the Phillies' 1980 World Series victory, a moment that had made him a legend. McGraw passed away on January 5, 2004, at the home of his son Tim and his wife Faith Hill in Brentwood, Tennessee. In tribute to McGraw, the Mets honored him by wearing the words, "You gotta believe," on their uniforms during the 2004 season. The Phillies also paid tribute by wearing a patch on their uniforms featuring a shamrock and a banner that read "Pope," in honor of both McGraw and longtime Phillies executive Paul Owens, who had also passed away that winter. Tim McGraw recorded the hit song, "Live Like You Were Dying," in his father's honor. The music video included a clip of Tug McGraw making the final out of the 1980 World Series. The song became a major hit, staying at #1 on the U.S. Billboard country music charts for 7 weeks, and was named the #1 country song of 2004 by Billboard.
Tug McGraw and Ken Brett all died of the disease, and all 6 played for the team at Veterans Stadium.
Then came a mysterious theory. After his death, McGraw was cremated. Almost 5 years later, during Game 3 of the 2008 World Series, Tim McGraw spread some of his father's ashes on the pitcher's mound at Citizens Bank Park, the Phillies' current home stadium. In 2023, a troubling pattern emerged when 6 Philadelphia Phillies players, including McGraw, were found to have died prematurely from glioblastoma. Some believe that these brain cancers might be linked to toxic PFAS chemicals in the AstroTurf at Veterans Stadium, though this theory has not been definitively proven. Before his death, McGraw established the Tug McGraw Foundation in 2003 to improve the quality of life for children and adults with brain tumors. The foundation later expanded its mission to include helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. One of the foundation's initiatives included sponsoring a photography class at Camp Pendleton to aid 15 Marines in their recovery from battlefield wounds. Looking back at his early life, it surely wasn't an easy one. McGraw was born on August 30, 1944 in Martinez, California. He was the second of 3 sons born to Frank Edwin, Big Mac McGraw Sr., and Mabel McKenna. Life at home wasn't easy for Tug. His mother, Mabel, struggled with bipolar disorder and was often physically and verbally abusive. After spending time in Napa State Mental Hospital, she eventually left the family, leaving Tug and his brothers to be raised by their father. Frank Sr. was a hardworking man with a strong athletic background. He worked a variety of jobs, including as a butcher, trucker, fireman, and later as a water treatment plant operator and engineer. Despite the challenges at home, he always encouraged his sons to play sports and stay active. Tug's family had deep roots, with his great-grandparents having emigrated from Ireland. After his parents' divorce in the early 1950s, Frank Sr. moved the family to nearby Vallejo, California. Tug attended St. Vincent Ferrer High School, a Catholic school in Vallejo, where he graduated in 1962. After high school, Tug continued his education by enrolling at Vallejo Junior College, taking his first steps towards what would become an incredible career in baseball. Then came the start of a great career. In 1961, McGraw's older brother Hank signed with the New York Mets, thanks to scout Roy Partee. Hank believed in his brother's talent and insisted that the Mets give Tug a chance too. He even went as far as threatening to quit if Tug wasn't signed. Roy Partee took Hank's request seriously, and on June 12, 1964, Tug McGraw signed with the New York Mets as an amateur free agent. He received a $7,000 signing bonus, which was a big deal at the time. Tug started his professional baseball journey in minor league baseball, where he was used as both a starting pitcher and a relief pitcher. His first stop was in Cocoa Beach, Florida, but it was in Auburn, New York, that Tug made a memorable debut by pitching a no-hitter. That year, he finished with an impressive 6-4 record and a remarkable 1.64 earned run average. It was clear from the start that Tug had the potential to make a big impact on the game. In 1965, at just 20 years old, McGraw made the New York Mets roster out of spring training, despite never having played in Double or Triple-A ball. It was a remarkable achievement, and he got to play under the legendary manager Casey Stengel, who would retire that same year. Tug made his major league debut on April 18, 1965, coming in as a reliever against the New York Giants. One of his first big moments was striking out the great Orlando Cepeda. He was so excited that they had to give him a tranquilizer to calm him down afterward. Starting out as a reliever, Tug had a 0-1 record with a 3.12 ERA and one save when he got his first chance to start a game on July 28th against the Chicago Cubs. Unfortunately, it didn't go well. He only lasted 2/3 of an inning and gave up 3 earned runs and a 9-0 loss. His next start on August 22nd was much better. He pitched a complete game against the St. Louis Cardinals, earning his first major league win. Just 4 days later, he faced off against the legendary Sandy Koufax and led the Mets to a 5-2 victory, marking the first time the Mets had ever beaten Koufax. Tug stayed in the starting rotation for the rest of the season, but he struggled, finishing with a 2-6 record as a starter and 0-1 in relief. The Mets tried Tug as a starter again in 1966, but he had a tough time, ending the season with a 2-9 record and a 5.52 ERA. He made a few more starts in 1967, but spent most of that season and all of 1968 in the minors with the Jacksonville Suns, where he went 9-9 with a 3.42 ERA. When Tug returned to the Mets in 1969, they had a strong young pitching rotation led by Tom Seaver, Jerry Koosman, and Gary Gentry, so there wasn't much room for Tug as a starter. However, when Koosman got injured in May, Tug stepped in, going 1-1 with a 5.23 ERA. Koosman's return meant Tug was back in the bullpen, and on May 28th, Tug pitched the 11th inning in a tight game against the San Diego Padres, earning the win after Bud Harrelson's single drove in Cleon Jones. In June 1969, Mets manager Gil Hodges suggested Tug focus on being a relief pitcher. Tug agreed, and this decision would change his career. The Mets went on an incredible 11-game winning streak that brought them into second place, just 7 games behind the Chicago Cubs. During this streak, Tug earned 2 saves and finished the season with 12 saves and an impressive 8-2 record as a reliever, with a 1.47 ERA. The Cubs had been dominating the National League East for most of the season, but in September, the Mets began closing the gap. On September 8th, they swept a crucial 2-game series against the Cubs, pulling within half a game of the lead. The next day, the Mets won both games of a doubleheader against the Montreal Expos, while the Cubs lost, allowing the Mets to take first place for the first time that season. Tug played a key role in another historic game on September 15th, when the Mets faced the Cardinals' Steve Carlton, who set a record by striking out 19 Mets. Despite Carlton's incredible performance, the Mets won 4-3, with Tug pitching the final 3 innings without giving up a run to earn the victory. On September 24th, Tug helped the Mets clinch the NL East title by pitching in a 6-0 win over Carlton and the Cardinals at Shea Stadium. The Mets finished the season on a high note, winning 39 of their last 50 games to end with 100 wins. Tug's first postseason experience came in Game 2 of the 1969 National League Championship Series. The Mets were up against the Atlanta Braves, and after the Braves scored 6 runs off Koosman, Tug and Ron Taylor stepped in to shut down the Braves' offense, helping secure an 11-6 win for the Mets. Although Tug didn't pitch in any more games during the 1969 postseason, the Mets went on to win the World Series in a year that Tug described as life-changing. That same year, Tug traveled to Vietnam on a goodwill tour. During the trip, he had a memorable encounter with Ron Taylor, who slapped him for smoking marijuana. Tug received a $10,000 bonus for being part of the World Series winning team, and he used $7,000 of it to buy a white Mercedes-Benz convertible, which he later passed down to his son after his death. He then became a legend. In the early 1970s, McGraw emerged as one of the top closers in the National League, with 1972 being a standout year for him. By the All-Star break, he had a record of 3-3 with an impressive 2.01 ERA in 15 saves, which earned him his first All-Star selection. In the All-Star game, he pitched 2 innings, striking out 4 batters and allowing just 1 hit, helping the National League team secure a 4-3 comeback victory. McGraw's performance for the rest of the 1972 season was equally remarkable. He finished the year with an 8-6 record and a phenomenal 1.70 ERA. He allowed only 71 hits over 106 innings and set a Mets record with 27 saves, a record that stood until 1984. However, 1973 was a different story. While his statistics weren't as strong, his leadership became crucial for the Mets, who were struggling. By August 30th, the Mets were in last place in the NL East. On August 31st, McGraw picked up a win in an extra innings game against the St. Louis Cardinals, helping the Mets move out of last place. At that point, his record was 2-6 with a 5.05 ERA. Despite his earlier struggles, McGraw turned things around in the latter part of the season. From August 31 onward, he went 3-0 with a remarkable 0.57 ERA and collected 10 saves. The Mets, spurred by McGraw's turnaround, went on a 28-run, pulling off a surprising division title. During a team meeting on July 9th, Mets chairman M. Donald Grant was trying to motivate the team, and McGraw famously shouted, "You gotta believe!" This phrase quickly became a rallying cry for the Mets and captured the spirit of their comeback. The Mets moved into first place on September 20th with a 10-2 victory over the Pittsburgh Pirates and clinched the division crown on the last day of the season with a win over the Cubs. Remarkably, this was the only year between 1970 and 1980 that the National League East was not won by either Philadelphia or Pittsburgh. McGraw's strong pitching continued into the postseason. In the National League Championship Series against the defending champions Cincinnati Reds, he pitched 5 scoreless innings over 2 games. He also appeared in 5 of the 7 games of the World Series against the Oakland Athletics. Although he blew a save in Game 2, he came through with 3 shutout innings in extra innings to earn the win. However, in December 1974, McGraw was traded to the Philadelphia Phillies along with Don Hahn and Dave Schneck in exchange for Del Unser, John Stearns, and Max Scarce. McGraw had been dealing with shoulder issues during a season where he had a 6.11 record and a 4.15 ERA. At the time of the trade, it seemed like the Mets might be moving him due to these concerns. After the trade, McGraw was diagnosed with a simple cyst, which was successfully removed through surgery, allowing him to recover fully. Before leaving the Mets, McGraw was the team's all-time leader in saves, games pitched, and games finished. He became a world champion. After joining the Philadelphia Phillies, McGraw continued to shine as a reliable relief pitcher. In his first season with the Phillies in 1975, he earned his second All-Star nod, though he didn't get a chance to play in the game. The Phillies finished second to the Pittsburgh Pirates that year, but McGraw's contributions helped the team win the division title in the next 3 seasons. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it to the World Series, losing to the Cincinnati Reds' Big Red Machine in the 1976 NLCS and falling to the Los Angeles Dodgers in the following 2 seasons. In a notable moment during the 1979 winter meetings in Toronto, there was talk of trading McGraw, Bake McBride, and Larry Christensen to the Texas Rangers for Sparky Lyle and Johnny Grubb. The deal fell through due to unresolved issues with Lyle's contract, so McGraw stayed with the Phillies. The 1980 season was a pivotal one. The Phillies were in a tight race for first place with the Montreal Expos. When the Expos came to Veterans Stadium for a crucial three-game series on September 25th, the Phillies won 2 of the 3 games, with McGraw earning the win in the second game. By the time they faced the Expos again in Montreal for the final series of the season, the teams were tied for first place. The Phillies won the opener 2-1, with McGraw earning a save by striking out 5 of the 6 batters he faced. The next day, McGraw entered the game in the 9th inning with the score tied. He pitched 3 innings, striking out 3 and allowing only 1 hit. With Mike Schmidt hitting a home run in the 11th inning to give the Phillies a 6-4 lead, McGraw closed out the game, striking out Larry Parrish to secure the National League East title for the Phillies. For the season, McGraw had a record of 5-4 with a stellar 1.46 ERA, 75 strikeouts, and 20 saves. His performance earned him a spot among the top pitchers as he finished 5th in Cy Young voting and 16th in the MVP race. During the 1980 NLCS against the Houston Astros, McGraw pitched in all 5 games. Despite some ups and downs, including blowing a save in the 5th game, he played a key role in the Phillies' World Series victory. In the World Series against the Kansas City Royals, McGraw appeared in 4 of the 6 games. He was instrumental in securing the championship, especially in Game 6, where he struck out Willie Wilson to clinch the Phillies' first World Series title. At the victory rally, McGraw famously declared, "New York City can take this world championship and stick it, 'cause we're number 1. Although he later regretted those comments, he often returned to Shea Stadium after retiring, showing his continued affection for Mets fans. Then came the end to it all. In the shortened 1981 season, McGraw had a solid year, going 2-4 with a 2.66 ERA and earning 10 saves. The Phillies had a good start, winning the first half of the season, but they stumbled in the National League Division Series, losing to the Montreal Expos. On March 17, 1981, McGraw showed his love for St. Patrick's Day by wearing a green uniform to a spring training game. Unfortunately, an umpire wouldn't let him play in it. McGraw always said St. Patrick's Day was his favorite holiday, and since 1989, the Phillies have honored the tradition by playing in green on that day. By 1982, McGraw's role changed. He became more of a setup man, with teammates Ron Reed and Ed Farmer taking on more of the closing duties. The Phillies also brought in Al Holland from the San Francisco Giants before the 1983 season to take over as the closer. After the 1984 season, McGraw decided to retire at the age of 40. However, in a nod to his old friend Roman Gabriel, McGraw made a brief return to professional baseball. He played a few games during the 1989 and 1990 minor league seasons with the Class A Gastonia Rangers in the South Atlantic League. It was a small comeback, but it showed his enduring passion for the game. In the 1980s and 1990s, McGraw made a name for himself off the field as a sports anchor and reporter for Action News on WPVI, the ABC affiliate in Philadelphia. He also made a memorable guest appearance on a 1919 episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, where he appeared as himself alongside several of his 1969 New York Mets teammates. Back in the mid-1970s, McGraw teamed up with artist Michael Wett to create a nationally syndicated comic strip called Scroogie. The strip featured Scroogie, a relief pitcher for the fictional Pets. His teammates included Tyrone, who was a bit of a diva like Reggie Jackson, Royce Rawls, an ace pitcher modeled after Tom Seaver, Chico, a Hispanic shortstop with traits similar to Mario Mendoza, and Homer, a lovable but not so bright slugger who could hit a home run into orbit. The team's announcer, Herb, sported flashy sports coats like former Mets announcer Lindsey Nelson, and the team was owned by a character named Millicent Cashman. Real-life major league teams and players were incorporated into the strip during its 2-year run. McGraw also collaborated with David Fisher and Neil Offer to produce 2 books related to the comic strip, Scroogie in 1976 and Hello There Ball in 1977. Additionally, McGraw recorded a rendition of the classic baseball poem Casey at the Bat with musical accompaniment by Peter Nero and the Philly Pops. That is it for this one, but if you happen to like MLB Legends, make sure to check out our latest videos on our channel MLB Icons. I'm sure you will love it.